Well, hey biology, we've made it. The last video of 2020, at least the spring semester. We'll see how life works out. But anyways, we're going to cover a little bit more about plants today in preparation for your next test. I just want to show you my face and smile and say, hey, how's it going? And that I hope you're doing well. I'm going to take the webcam away though as I talk about, the last few things I want you to know about plants. But anyways, hope to see you soon. Don't know what that will be like, but and again, hope to do that. Crazy times we're living in, but let's get started. All right, so plants. We've been talking about plants. And so I'm going to cover the first two lessons in 23 during this video, okay? So here's some objectives for 23.1. Principal tissues of plants. We're going to talk about structures and functions of roots and stems and leaves, and also how plants transport water. So seed plant structure. The three principal organs of seed plants are roots, stems, and leaves. The organs are linked together by tissue systems that produce and store and transport nutrients and provide physical support and protection. So if you've noticed here, these are radishes. They go great on tacos. Carrots, glorious carrots. Beets. You can see here that all of these food sources are found within the root system of a plant. One of my favorite Bible verses in the Old Testament is Jeremiah. It's found in Jeremiah. Blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord, whose trust is the Lord. He is like a tree planted by water that sends out its roots by the stream and does not fear when heat comes, for its leaves remain green, and is not anxious in the year of drought, for it does not cease to bear fruit. The people who trust in God are right beside living water that Jesus promised. And so constantly getting renewed by that living water brings constant fruit, brings constant peace. Of course, we're humans, so we struggle, but nonetheless, our hope is in God. It's a great, wonderful verse. So plant tissue systems, they have three main tissue systems: dermal, vascular, and ground. Well, dermal is the covering. So this is kind of like the epidermis of the plant. This is similar, as far as function goes, as your skin. Sometimes it has a waxy layer called the cuticle. Sometimes there's hairs or trichomes are appendages from epidermal cells, and they protect plants, deter animals from eating the plant. Stomata are part of the dermal tissue, which are openings that allow gas exchange to occur from the environment. They are open and closed by guard cells. So that's dermal tissue. Vascular tissue is the tubes inside plants, and so there's xylem, which moves water, and and minerals, of course, whatever dissolved in the water, and phloem, which moves water and food, food sources. And so here's a picture from your book. And so there's different types of vascular tissue. So xylem and phloem form the vascular tissue system that moves water in plants throughout a plant. And so a couple things you should see here. Vessel elements, angiosperms only have these. They mature and die, and so the cell walls at both ends are left with a opening through which water can move freely. So angiosperms only have that. Sieve tube elements are part of phloem. So phloem cells include sieve tube elements which arrange end to end forming sieve tubes. The end walls of sieve tube elements have many small holes through which nutrients move from cell to cell in a watery stream. Again, that's what growers drill into when they're trying to make maple syrup from maple trees. Companion cells are basically the life support system of the sieve tube because the sieve tube doesn't have any of the organelles or nuclei. So companion cells support those cells and aid them. And then tracheids, all seed plants have tracheids. Tracheids die, leaving only their cell walls. These cells contain lignin, which is like, a structural compound. And the inner regions of the wall, known as pits, allow water to diffuse, again, high to low, from tracheids into surrounding ground tissue. So consider, here's the maple tree, but consider the magnitude of what xylem accomplishes in transporting a large amount of water. That's actually not, I don't know, maple tree. I don't know if it is. I think it is. But a large amount of water over a great distance within the plant. A single maple tree, 15 meters tall, has been estimated to have some 177,000 leaves. Okay, so let's do some quick math here. During a summer day, that tree loses 220 liters of water per hour to the atmosphere by evaporation, technically transpiration, evapotranspiration. So to prevent wilting, the xylem needs to transport 220 liters of water from the roots to the leaves every hour. That's crazy amount of water. Here's some cool pictures here. This is underneath a scanning electron microscope. You can see the vessels. See, here's the tracheids, water movement. Here's the structure of the phloem. There's a sieve plate and sieve tube element again. So ground tissue, what does ground tissue do? So that what we covered dermal tissue, we covered vascular tissue. So what is ground tissue? Ground tissue produces and stores sugars. So produces, you should be thinking photosynthesis there, right? And contributes to the physical support of the plant. There's 3 types of ground tissue: parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. Those are fun words to say. Thin, thicker, and thickest cell walls. So parenchyma is, let me change the slide. Okay, parenchyma cells are the main type of ground tissue. So that's the main type. I would, kind of understand that. They have a large central vacuole, and this is literally where many chloroplasts are found. This is a light microscope in a lotial leaf with chloroplasts. You can see there is parenchyma. Collenchyma cells have strong, flexible cell walls. So if you've ever made like a casserole, my grandma used to help me understand this. Usually you remove these strings from celery. Well, because they're kind of tough and chewy, and it's not good to have. And so you remove these strings. Well, those strings are actually collenchyma cells for protection, and so they help support plant organs. And then sclerenchyma are their extremely thick and rigid cell walls, such as seed coats, tough and strong. They're made up of a lot of tissue here. What's rope made of? Well, rope's made from a type of plant. So I'm pretty sure this is hemp plants, but that's one type of plant that rope can be made of due to a high level of sclerenchyma cells. Plants also have this amazing region called meristems. Meristems allow plant tissues to grow and develop. But here's the thing, unspecialized. We've learned about stem cells in many ways, and so these are unspecialized cells. Meristems are found in places where plants grow rapidly, such as like tips of stems and roots. And these rapidly are called apical or apical meristems. And so sometimes these meristems can develop into flowers on a stem if they are floral meristem. And so meristems are regions of unspecialized cells. Mitosis are producing new cells rapidly, and then those cells would differentiate and become specialized in order to serve their function as either a root or a stem or possibly even a flower. So can you guess how large a typical plant's root system is? Well, here's, I don't know if you like rye bread, but a single study of rye bread showed that the length of all the branches in its root system was an astonishing 412 miles. One single rye plant. Again, that's crazy. In some plants, the primary root, so there's different types of roots in plants. The primary root grows long and thick. This large primary root is called a taproot. I don't know if you ever pulled weeds, but some weeds have a taproot system. Most weeds are angiosperms, by the way. And the taproots of oak and hickory trees grow so long that they can reach water several meters below the surface. But sometimes, though you don't have taproots, you just kind of have this like fibrous network of same size roots, and this is not taproot, this is fibrous. So fibrous systems are produced by man to help prevent topsoil from being washed away by heavy rain. So they serve a purpose in ecosystems, allowing the soil to be secure. So here's an example of the root system. Let's look at a picture from your book here. So here's the anatomy of the root. You have the epidermis, which is protection, the vascular cylinder, which it helps, of course. Xylem and phloem cells make up a region. That's the vascular cylinder, again, moving nutrients. Of course, roots provide water and minerals that the plant needs. Apical meristem is where growth is occurring. The cortex is inside the epidermis, is a region of ground tissue called the cortex. Water and minerals move through the cortex toward the center of the root. This is diffusion, osmosis, various things like that. So that's the anatomy of a root system. But roots need minerals, to get minerals from the soil. If plants only do photosynthesis, they won't have the necessary nutrients and minerals that they need. If you don't eat a balanced diet, you might be missing out on some vitamins. And so here's some of the nutrients necessary for plants, and obviously found in fertilizers. Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, calcium, and these are some of the roles that they play. That's not a very good arrow in plants. Okay, so roots gotta get that water, but also gotta get those nutrients in the soil, and hopefully dissolve in the water. So let's move on to stems. What are the 3 main functions of stems? Above ground stems have several important functions. They produce leaves, branches, and flowers. They hold leaves up to the sun. Of course, we gotta have the sun for a plant, right? And stems transport substances throughout the plant. Here are some examples of stems that we could possibly eat or use. Water chestnuts, bamboo shoots, asparagus, potatoes all have that in common. They're all stems. You can see the terminal buds here. The eye is actually an axillary bud for new growth if you ever had a budding potato. Stems make up an essential part of the water and mineral transport system. Xylem and phloem form continuous tubes throughout the stems. And then stems, of course, have been modified. Some stems are, like the oak tree, are woody, covered in bark. But some stems have been modified to live in dry, arid regions to also undergo photosynthesis. You can see how they're green here in these cacti. I've never seen, I don't know if I did when I drove out to El Paso, a cacti. I think they're out there, yeah. It's been such a long time since I've been out there. But stems contain dermal, all three types of tissues. And they, of course, are supported. There's difference between monocots and dicots, different types of plants. Ground tissue and vascular bundles are kind of arranged sporadically, vascular bundles, but vascular bundles are in a circle and a dicot. That's a very easy way to understand the difference between a monocot and a dicot. So growing stems contain distinct nodes where leaves are attached. Buds contain apical meristems, and so florists really are good at knowing how to cut a plant correctly. I just bought some roses, so I'm going to study that as well to try to get those roses to look the best that they can for my wife. In monocots, clusters of xylem and phloem tissue are called vascular bundles, and we already talked about that. The central region of a dicot stem is known as a pith. This is vascular tissue. So these patterns become more and more complex. Stems also can sometimes show primary versus secondary growth. Secondary growth contains that cork and bark that we've seen so much in our lives. Leaf structure and function. How is the structure of a leaf adapted to make photosynthesis more efficient? And that's the main question that your book proposes. Well, it's optimized to absorb light, carry out photosynthesis. Without photosynthesis, of course, the plant dies. And so leaf blade, it's called the blade. And the blade is attached to the stem by a thin stalk. You can see the stalk right there. Leaves have an outer covering of dermal tissue and regions of ground and vascular tissue. So here's the anatomy of a leaf. See the different parenchyma cells, guard cells, allowing that gas exchange to occur. We got to take CO2 and rapid photosynthesis. Xylem and phloem are vascular tissues. We need to transport water and food and stuff. Cuticle are waxy coverings to prevent the loss of water. And then we have all these layers, palisade, spongy layers that have those cells that have chloroplasts that are containing all the machinery necessary to run photosynthesis. So here's a better picture here, probably less granulated, pixelated, and here's just another picture of leaf anatomy. So one of my bucket list items is to go see the Great Redwoods, California, Sequoia National Forest. It's very high on my list. I want to see the Grand Canyon and the Sequoia National Forest. I want to see this. I want to see these majestic trees. But how in the world, since plants don't have muscles, right? No pumping system. How does water travel up a tall redwood like that? Well, through transpiration is the loss of water through leaves. So leaves are constantly losing water. But here's the thing about water. Water has these properties that make it stick to itself and stick to other things, cohesion and adhesion. And so because of that, transpiration causes water to be kind of in this long chain. Cohesion and adhesion. So all this water is in this long chain. So when water leaves right here, when water is leaving through the stoma, well, the next water is connected to that, the water that left, water vapor, so it pulls it all up. So the combination of transpiration and capillary action provides over 90% of the force that moves water through the xylem tissues of a plant. Well, what exactly is capillary action? Capillary action is the tendency of water to rise in a thin tube. And you've seen this if you ever put a paper towel, like one edge of a paper towel in a drop of water. Water is attracted to the walls of the tube, and water molecules are attracted to each other, cohesion and adhesion. The thinner the tube, the higher the water will rise. So water is attracted to itself, attracted to other substances. It's a polar molecule, positive and negative. And so it has the ability to move up these 300 plus feet on some of these trees. It's crazy. 200 feet. It's crazy how tall these trees are. It's really amazing. So it's a wonder of creation. So y'all know I like comic strips. This is from the comic strip Zits. Hi mom, hi dad, I'll be in my room. It's like living in a house with James Earl Jones and the Chipmunks. His voice will even out soon. So puberty, right? voice cracks and all those changes. But why in the world does puberty happen? Well, because it happens because of hormones. And so that's what section 23.2 is all about. Plants also make hormones. Hormones are chemical messengers that change how cells behave. This is a very general diagram of how a hormone works. So let's say you're younger and you're going through puberty. Okay, we all love talking about puberty. So you're going through puberty. Why are your cells? Why is your voice? Why are your vocal cords thickening if you're a guy? Why are your cells changing no matter if you're a guy or a girl? Like your body's changing. Why are your cells changing what they're doing? Well, it's because hormones attach to target cells with receptors. And when they attach to that receptor cell, they cause like a cascade of signals to be sent, which causes the cell to respond, usually because DNA starts expressing different genes or changes its expression. So this hormone is literally a messenger that says, hey, it's time to read different genes. It's time to read different chapters in our DNA. It's time to start making different proteins. It is the signal that starts that chain of events. That's how hormones work. And so plants make hormones. They manage to, all these, again, plants don't have a brain, plants, but all these cells maintain this organism. How do they do that? Well, it's through hormones. Hormones are chemical messengers. So plant hormones serve as signals that control, here it is, development of cells, tissues, and organisms. They also help plants respond to the environment. So plants respond. In order to be alive, you have to be able to respond to stimulus, and plants do that. So hormones may act on the same cells which they made, or they may travel to different cells. That's given specific names, but we're not going to get into that. So the portion of an organism affected by a particular hormone is known as its target cell. So to respond to a hormone, a cell must contain hormone receptors to which a hormone molecule binds. Just because a hormone is around doesn't mean it's going to bind to every single cell. It has to have a receptor. It's kind of like a lock and key that we learned about with enzymes. It's looking for the correct lock if it has a key on the outside of it. The response will depend upon what type of receptors are present, of course. So let's learn about some of these different hormones. Charles Darwin and his son Francis, love it, explored the mechanism behind a grass seedling's tendency to bend toward life. Again, Charles Darwin of natural selection fame. I love it that he's like, outside with his son. That's awesome. The results of their experiments suggested that the tip of the seedling somehow senses light. Yeah, if you've ever seen a plant growing towards a light, how in the world does it do that? Darwin's hypothesized that the tip produces a substance that regulates cell growth. What is it? This is known as auxins. Auxin is a hormone that stimulates cell elongation and growth of new roots. So what happens is if the sun's at an angle, auxins will, build up. They move away from the light. Again, we're greatly simplifying this, of course. But their presence causes cells to elongate. And so those cells on that side of the plant grow longer. And so therefore the plant curves. Phototropism. We'll learn about tropisms here in a second. Cytokinins are another type of plant hormone, produced in growing roots and in developing seeds and fruits. They stimulate cell division, mitosis. They also control the growth of new organs in injured plants and to balance root and shoot growth in their stems. Cytokinins also delay the aging of leaves and play important roles in the early stages of plant growth. So here's like a little diagram here. They produce effects opposite to those of auxins. Auxins stimulate the initiation of new roots. Cytokinins do just the opposite. They stop new roots, but they start the growth at stems. So if a tree is cut down, the stump will often make new shoots because cytokinins accumulate near the cut. And you've seen this if you've ever cut, trimmed a shrub or anything like that. Dipperelins, hormones called Dipperelins, that's a fun name, stimulate growth and can influence various developmental processes. For example, germination, seedling germinating, seed germinating may cause dramatic increases in size in stems and fruits. So this is what I was talking to you about in the Zoom meeting, but grapes that are grown organically versus conventionally. If you look at conventional grapes, they're usually larger. How in the world did they get larger? Well, growers are using hormones to change the development of that fruit. Cystic acid inhibits cell division, thereby halting growth. So gibberellins interact with another hormone to control seed dormancy. So cystic acid is a major hormone that controls plants' abilities to survive, here we go, in a harsh and changing environment. The signaling pathway is conserved across all plants, including mosses. So this is, when they say conserved, that's an evolutionary term, meaning it's been conserved through evolution. So it's very necessary, it's very successful. It probably happened early on in life from an evolutionary standpoint. ABA participates in the control of root growth, seed desiccation, and dormancy, guard cell responses, and cellular osmoprotection. Very important hormone right there. Ethylene stimulates fruits to ripen. I don't know if you've ever heard the phrase, one bad apple spoils a bunch, but this is based upon ethylene because this apple right here is releasing lots of ethylene. That ethylene is going to cause all the apples around it to ripen faster than they would if that apple wasn't around. So ethylene also causes plants to seal off and drop organs that are no longer needed. For example, petals after flowers have been pollinated, leaves in autumn, ripened fruits. The plant's like, hey, it's time to get rid of them. So let's talk briefly, because plants respond to the environment. If you touch a hot iron, or if anything, hot, you respond to the world around you. The stimulus would be the hot iron. Your skin nerve, there's nerve cells in your skin, general nerve tissue. Let's not go too deep into anatomy here. But it sends a reflex arc. There's a reflex arc involved. And so it goes from the receptor to the spinal cord and back to the effector, which is the muscles. You don't think about moving your hand away. If you ever touch something crazy hot, you didn't think about it, you just naturally did it. And there's reflex arcs in your spinal cord, but nonetheless, we respond to stimuli. You respond if you smell bacon cooking, if you like bacon, or whatever your favorite meal is, you start salivating. If it's hot outside, you start sweating. If it's cold, you start shivering. If you are in a stressful situation, your blood pressure is going to rise. You respond to the world around you. Well, plants do the same. Tropisms is this fancy, fun word where it occurs when plants respond to external stimuli. Plants respond to the world around them. They respond to gravity, geotropism. And plus, these tropisms are positive or negative. So if a plant moves toward it, sorry, I should have said that first, it's considered positive. If the plant moves away from it, it's considered negative. So roots would have a positive geotropism, for gravity. They're moving towards gravity. They want to go deeper, find water. Stems, of course, are opposite. Hydrotropism, the way a plant grows or bends in response to water. Thigmotropism means touch. Some plants, Venus flytrap, touch. Mimosa plants shrivel up if you touch them. Some vines have to have touch. When they feel that they touch something, you can look up really cool time-lapse videos on YouTube. But if they touch something, you can see that they touch and then they wrap and start coiling toward it. It's really cool time-lapse. We don't, once time-lapse video has started to be developed, plants really took on a whole other perspective for humans. And then phototropism, the way a plant grows or bends towards light. That's just another example of that. So that ends our plant discussion. I hope this video was helpful for those who watched it. If you did, you are rock stars. I hope it helps you prepare for the test. Of course, the test will be online, but nonetheless, guys, we have worked hard and did our best during this pandemic. I'm proud of all of you for staying with it, doing your work. I hope you finish your semester on a great high note. Jesus loves you so much. I hope and pray that you surrender to him and follow after him, because he wants you to have life, true life. God bless, guys.